The boss of the Abyss Tower thought that there were so many different toys in this world, and this hunter knight mutters his prayer. Raising the sword in front of him, the hero muttered the final words of the Lord's Prayer about the eternal power and glory of God. He turned to the boss, calling him a vile demon, and called for justice to be brought down on him in the name of God. Baphomet sighed tiredly and decided that this annoying toy was making too much noise. He decided to talk about toys right after he finished off the bastard. With one stroke, the boss of the Abyssal Tower sent the knight to his Lord God to praise him there until his tongue withered. The second one was one-eyed and very hasty. He kept glancing at his watch, believing that he was running out of time, because today was his and his wife's anniversary. He decided that he would have to hurry. The boss believed that this hunter was not having an anniversary, but a funeral. One eye was left sitting forever, with his bloody head pierced by 3 blades. A sweet beauty looked into the slightly open door. She cautiously asked if anyone was here. This time a cute toy came to see him. The girl asked him if this was the last floor and if he was the boss of this tower. Baphomet replied that she guessed right. He is the boss of this tower. The girl slyly said that she received real relief. The thing is, she got a little lost. At the same moment, her face was distorted beyond recognition, and she cursed and rushed at the boss, holding a fireball in her hand to kill him. The boss grabbed her by the hair and lifted her off the floor. She turned into a cutie again and asked to be spared. Baphomet replied that it would not happen this time because he was very angry. After that, he decided to stop. After all, everyone has already guessed everything. All these toys die by his hand, and his name is Baphomet. He is the ruler of this tower, assessing the importance of toys. The seconds when a new toy appears in front of him excites him more than anything else and plunges him into despair. Here again, another hunter has broken down. Obviously, the door leading to the world of toys will never open for him. He will never find himself in that world. He spends eternity waiting for a new toy to come into his possession, and every time he thinks, how can he spend this time full of boredom and meaninglessness? It was a complete mess. At least die of boredom. He wondered in despair why everything was like this. He thought that if God really exists, maybe he will fulfill his wish. Listening to the music, Baphomet sighed heavily and thought that he even had goosebumps from himself. This was not in his spirit. Then he heard the tower howling, so someone is coming to the door. He sat down on the throne, although he no longer expected anything. The toys break quickly anyway. He decided to quickly finish with the next hunter, who would give him war trophies and send him to the next world. At this time, the door opened and a man entered the room. Baphomet immediately realized that this was an unusual toy. Their fight took a serious turn. This guy was the one Baphomet had been waiting to meet for so long. He had the highest rank. No matter how hard the tower boss tried to defeat him, nothing worked. This hunter began to tire him. Feelings that he had long forgotten during all this time gradually returned. This was the battle he had long desired. Baphomet was having fun for the first time in a long time. However, the incredible happened. This guy managed to break his blade. Against his will, Baphomet was jealous of this toy. It was stupid. The guy was really incredibly strong. Baphomet couldn't believe that he could lose to some toy. He used all the magic he had. He is the lord of this tower. He is the ruler. The man, as if reading his thoughts, told him, even if this is so, he is still locked here. These words surprised Baphomet very much. How can a small fry try to defeat him? Just think that this toy can fight him equally. At some point, it seemed to Baphomet that this was not a toy at all. He's a real person, free and strong. Suddenly, the tower boss wanted to become exactly like that. An incredible desire took possession of Baphomet. Wanted to escape from here to become strong and free. Baphomet knew that the main quest of this game was to kill the hunter Raven and receive a reward, the fulfillment of one wish. The Baphomet rushed at the man with renewed vigor. The incredible did not happen. This guy broke down, but a message appeared that the tower had been passed and would soon collapse. They were asked to leave the area immediately. Baphomet calmly walked towards the exit. Raven's dying eyes captured him, disappearing behind the door. And then there was an explosion. The tower was destroyed. Rescuers spent the entire night clearing away the debris. Then they discovered several corpses underneath them. One of the rescuers asked how many hunters were killed trying to cross the abyss bar. Suddenly, someone shouted that there was a survivor in the wreckage. Rescuers saw the young man without clothes and asked him if he was okay. The young man absent-mindedly replied that he was fine, and I thought that he was definitely dead. Apparently, he killed that bastard and survived like this. The rescuer asked him if he must be the hunter from the tower. He wanted to verify his identity. He asked Baphomet his name. The boss remembered everything. The quest to kill the hunter. Raven was completed, and he had already chosen a wish. Baphomet was now in a human body. Hunters are those who fight the monsters that live outside the gates and towers. The position of the hunters was far from enviable until the day the breach occurred. Gate breach is a phenomenon that occurs when a tower remains untouched for a long time. As a result, monsters break through the gate. The gate's breach wiped out 1/3 of the world's population. After this incident, people began to train hunters to defend the towers. Baphomet was the ruler of the Tower of the Abyss, from whose hand many hunters fell, captivated by people but still determined to become human. However, people mistook him for the hero who cleared the Abyss Tower. This hero aroused people's interest. Many journalists wanted to interview him. People wanted to witness the heroic deed, but unfortunately, he lost all his power. He has been demoted from Lord of the Tower to the Rogue of the Century. The deity of the underworld became the leader of a second-rate gang from an underground quarry. A newcomer has appeared in the career he just joined. The young man asked to take care of him. The boss decided that since he was a newbie, he was bursting with energy. The master asked him if he had done similar work before. The newcomer replied that he did not have to do this. The boss asked him not to worry about it. It's not that difficult. This is a simple task for which you only need to apply a little strength. The young man noticed that this quarry was huge. The boss agreed with him and said that a few months ago it was much smaller, and all this happened thanks to the hunters who defeated the local monsters. Then he explained to the newcomer that they were in charge of zones C and D. He would have to work in Zone D. He wouldn't get bored there. It is in this area that most rare stones are found. The young man saw people jokingly parting ways as if to make way for him. He asked what kind of people they were, and the boss advised him never to contact them. These are ordinary hooligans who snuck into their minds. They are capable of bullying anyone they don't like. The boss pointed to one of the bullies and said that he was a particularly cruel person. He advised the newcomer not to even approach him. The young man asked, "Can such people work?" The boss replied that there was no other way out, because the head had his heart set on him. He was very good at his job. It was payday, and the head gave out money in envelopes. One of the workers asked, "Who gives out money in envelopes anyway?" The head asked him if he had never heard of nostalgia. Then he pulled out another envelope and handed it to Baphomet. He said that he had already sent money there. One of the guys close to Baphomet offered to buy him something tasty. After all, he seems to have liked it last time. Or maybe he wants to go to a cyber cafe because he is very good at games. Or what will he say about the bath? One of the newcomers asked him a question. What does he spend all his money on from work? The leader's comrade immediately struck him in the face. Calling him a brainless idiot, he told him that if the boss wanted to say something, he would say it himself. And the man fell to his knees and asked for forgiveness. He promised that he wouldn't behave like that again. Baphomet, covering his ears with his hands, screamed loudly. What does he spend his money on? He sends them to the quack doctor. When he hit rock bottom and was accused of being a fraud, he had to go to the hospital for an injury, and that charlatan operated on him. Only he didn't have any money. Dr. Kim Yoon-seo was upset that he didn't have any money. She, stroking her beloved cat sitting on her lap, expressed annoyance, but said that nothing could be done about it and offered him a deal. She said he had to pay with his body and felt a strong kick to the head. When he came to his senses, he was already working in a quarry to send money to this charlatan. Well, that was at least something. His fraudulent face was plastered all over the corners, which was starting to get pretty annoying. But things didn't go so smoothly in his career either. His comrades made fun of him when they learned that he was the swindler. They asked, "Is he really the guy who's so famous?" Several people recognized him immediately, but he constantly ignored them. And at some point, he realized that this clique made him incredibly sick. Then he beat them all. He beat up those who pestered him. One of the guys turned to him and said that he heard that Baphomet swings well. He decided to check it out in person. He knocked him out too. Baphomet beat anyone who dared to meet his gaze. After that, people began to follow him around and call him Hyungnim. As a result, he became the head of some repulsed gang. But that was not it. This was not the human world he wanted to enjoy as the Lord of the Tower. One day, he heard the ringing of swords in the depths of the mine and went towards this sound. There he saw two hunters who were clearing the area. Seeing Baphomet, the hunter girl said that they had not yet cleared this territory and he should not enter here. Baphomet thought that he had sunk into the usual beating of little people, and that was all. He lost his powers because he turned into a human. Why did he even decide to become one? After all, he wanted to be like this hunter, strong and cool. One of his comrades said that he thought he was cooler than the hunters. They are simply far from it. If they had not awakened, they would have been ordinary guys. Then he would have killed them one-on-one. They were right, but when you see truly strong and tough hunters, it becomes sad. One of the workers said that he had heard that hunters were making good money from selling magic stones. Many of them seemed to live in penthouses on the top floors of the towers. Baphomet did not envy those who had to live on the top floor of the tower. The young worker continued to say that they get a lot of everything because they were lucky, and, in the end, the money they get with their sweat and blood is really earned. Baphomet agreed with the guy. Those who do not know the value of money receive it for nothing. Suddenly this guy asked him, obviously he thought of something good. Was he really smiling? Baphomet told the guys that they were just funny. They began to argue about which of them was the funniest and decided that whoever makes Hyung Nim smile first wins. Baphomet had a strange feeling. He had felt this way before when he had abused the toys in the Abyssal Tower. Perhaps he missed the fun he felt in the tower. However, he feels it even when he is not fighting, because he became a man. This means that even without strength, he can be strong. He was asked if he really didn't have a name. He replied that it once was, but he no longer uses it. One of his comrades suggested that he had a cool story behind him. He suggested that he take his name because his parents put their heart and soul into him, but they tried in vain. They will love it if someone cool and handsome takes this name. Baphomet asked what his name was. The guy was surprised and replied that he had already told him. His name is Cha. Suddenly a distant explosion was heard. Then a strange noise was heard. Suddenly the shaft was filled with hot air and everyone was enveloped in an unbearable heat. Baphomet found himself on the ground and thought that he was obviously hurt. He couldn't understand what had happened. Only cries for help could be heard. There were flames all around. He again saw himself as the ruler of the Tower of the Abyss. Could it be that toys are breaking again, and he has only just begun to have fun? He asked himself who he was now. Suddenly he saw a figure whose outline resembled a woman. Then a bright fire covered everything. The man said that this was expected of C-rank hunters. It was very difficult for him when the two of them attacked him, but he achieved a lot by making his way into the quarry. Now he wants to take everything. The hunters standing in front of him realized that this was a hunter thief. They thought it was just an empty rumor. They said that there is a hunter who attacks for profit. They recognized him. This newcomer is that hunter. The stranger replied that their words were only half true. But what if the survivor? The girl replied that there were several wounded. Her partner asked what was the likelihood of saving them after treating the wounds. The huntress replied that it was extremely small, but now was not the time to think about it. She needed to focus on the battle. Does he mean to say that they need to run? The man replied that he was a B-rank hunter and they had no chance. The girl objected to him and said that they could not run away, leaving the civilians. The partner asked irritably, does that mean she knows how to defeat him? It would be better to call veteran hunters here. At this time, the blade whistled through the air and stuck into the neck of the girl's partner. The stranger noticed that they were chatting a lot. The huntress rushed at him furiously. He calmly noted that hunters should not give in to emotion because this way they will die faster. After this, the killer ordered his comrade to leave. Both hunters lay lifeless. The leader said the man still wouldn't shut up, so they had to cut his throat. He asked the guys if they would figure out the rest. One of the bandits said that a woman's most valuable asset is her eyes, but she is still alive. Then someone suggested selling her at a higher price because she was a young C-rank hunter. The girl asked in fear what they were talking about. The bandit replied that he had already told her that she was only half right. They only pretend to be hunters and thieves, but this is absolutely not true. At this time, two bandits grabbed her by the hair and she screamed in a loud voice. Having searched her partner, the bandits found expensive and rare things on him, which were still difficult to sell. They decided to abandon them. Someone suggested using them ourselves. The girl continued to scream. She was asked if she really thought that someone would save her. Let her forget about it. This has never happened before, and if anyone comes, consider her to have used her entire life's luck in advance. Suddenly, the head of one of the bandits, separated from the body, rolled down the mine. The second was pierced in the heart area with a sword. Nobody could figure out who it was. Baphomet finished the hidden quest of his new game, which offered to feel fury over a person, and the reward was the desired power. It was a disgusting beetle that destroyed its toys with its own hand. Baphomet walked up to the dead bandit and took his blade. A message popped up on the screen stating that using another person's item reduces their power to 0%. Immediately, the status screen showed his strength as 0. Next came a message about a critical system error. Baphomet's passive skill, Weapon Master, then activated. Skill, Weapon Steal, is used automatically thanks to the Weapon Master passive skill. He swung his sword and saw a stranger with a cigarette in his mouth. The man shuddered, and the cigarette fell out of his mouth. Baphomet told him that he was worthless and broke his toys. The stranger did not understand what toys he was talking about. 2 more bandits were next to the leader. Baphomet asked them, pointing to the dead bodies, "Did they do this?" The leader asked him if he was too old for toys. Instead of answering, the former boss of the Abyss Tower rushed to attack. The leader ordered his assistants to quickly take position. The bully turned out to be a hunter, and we need to test this idiot's strength. 2 guys armed with a cleaver and a knife tried to resist Baphomet's attack. This man's dexterity and skill alone far exceeded theirs. The leader, who was watching the fight, was delighted with this guy. He was a real master of martial art. He asked Baphomet what rank he was, really A or with, although of course he is above C rank. He seriously asked Baphomet, what did a hunter of his level forget in this quarry? Just don't let him say that he had business here. This place is under his control, and it makes no difference whether he knows about it or not. He's dead the stranger smiled. He thought about what was too much for this hunter. The magical chains word was designed to kill bastards who rely only on their physical strength. This man used magic that was much more effective than the methods that the hunters used. He told Baphomet that he would deal with him carefully because he was valuable material. A message appeared on the system screen stating that Baphomet's passive skill, Fury, had been activated. In case of heavy bleeding, all skills are increased by 15%. The leader of the bandits was incredibly surprised that this man blocked all his magical blows. Baphomet approached so much that he could already engage in close combat with him. The bandit couldn't understand where this guy got so much strength from. At that moment, Baphomet's sword soared above the leader's head. However, the stranger managed to block this strong blow. He thought about this guy rushing at him without thinking. Does he really think he is stronger than him? He advised him to stop doing nonsense. The longer the battle goes on, the more energy he will expend, and he will emerge victorious. Just as he thought, this person is just a B-rank hunter who has no idea what to do. However, looking into the eyes of Baphomet, the leader doubted that he was right. Baphomet wondered in surprise, what is he fighting? As if there was no person in front of him. Right hand for the guy who was always being pushed forward, and left hand for the quiet bastard. The left leg is for the fat guy who always carried food with him. The leader of the bandits asked Baphomet to stop at the moment when he was wondering who the other leg would go for. His name is Chamin Wu. He raised his sword to finish what he started, and the bandit, lying on his back, could not understand what was happening. Who really is this guy? The tip of the sword was already a centimeter from the bandit's chest. This was the price for his rage. Chamin Wu felt hot. The system screen announced that those who crave power will face dire consequences. He thought it was his man. The message stated that the berserk debuff that induces bloodlust was activated due to the rage passive skill. He was hot with bloodlust, but he needed a person, not these pieces of meat. He needed a living person. One of them was actually alive. Should he have killed him? After all, it was created to kill people. His entire being was permeated with this desire. A man hidden in the shadows radioed to the commander that there were survivors in the mine, but one of them was somehow strained. He is trying to kill the second one. He couldn't tell if it was a chopped piece of meat or a corpse. He looks like the guy they were looking for. The head's hand fell on the shoulder of the man who was speaking into the walkie-talkie, and he said that it was enough for communication. He was already here. They looked at the guy with the sword in his hand, and the leader said that that guy looked different. Cha noticed these 2 people and realized that he had already seen one of these faces somewhere. He rushed towards the 2 with his sword ready, but the fingers of one of them touched his chest, and she said that she barely pulled him out of the other world, so let him not even think about dying. This girl put her hand on his face and ordered him to get some sleep. Cha fell on his back and closed his eyes. What was it? Baphomet sat on the throne. Lord Baphomet was asked to announce his decree. His hand rose up, and he said that all people on earth must be killed in the name of Baphomet. It seemed to him that a sword blade had passed through his body, and someone standing behind him told him that sitting in his tower, he had no idea how weak he was, and only death awaits the weak. Cha couldn't understand what was happening to him. He woke up and didn't see the quarry. He was in a completely different place. Someone asked him if he could hear that voice. He finally woke up. The man asked Cha Min-woo who he was. Mr. Scammer. No wonder his face is familiar. Wasn't he caught in a lie after loud statements about clearing the Abyss Tower? And the same swindler killed the hunter, their target. Is he trying to pull something off again? Or did he really kill him? Cha couldn't understand who this man was talking about. Perhaps the bastards with smashed limbs are talking about that? The man continued. He told Cha that he had done a little research and found nothing, as if neither his name nor himself existed. The hunter's registration status was not found, but he has the power of a rank A hunter. Who is he? Not a registered hunter or a genius in the making. Who is he really? The man warned him that their decision depended on his answer. Cha struck a two-way mirror, behind which a person invisible to him was hiding. He had already worn him out with his question. Cha said that if he wants to know who he is, he should show respect and introduce himself first. He locked it here and hid behind the wall, sitting on his ass. He is a completely uncultured son of a bitch. He would like to know who gave him the nickname Swindler. These are the freaks who think of him as a hero. If he wants to know about the hunter they were chasing, then he guessed right. It was he who killed him. So what now? Should he cry for his sins? It's his own fault because he pissed him off. Let him come back to life, and he will kill him again and again. He will cut off his limbs, tear him to pieces. There will be no trace of him left. No one will know that he even existed. Cha paused and added that it seemed to him that he would do this to the one who was hiding behind the wall. Cha heard loud laughter. The man behind the mirror asked if he could kill him. Cha saw in front of him a man who appeared in the room. He asked what he intended to do now. It was a man with glasses. It seemed to him that his face was very familiar. The stranger told him that he had indeed awakened. After that, the man with glasses knocked him to the floor and grabbed him by the throat. He said that this was a great move, and Cha thought that this guy was strong. He introduced himself and said that they were a government guild created in the name of destroying criminal hunters called Post-Rel. He informed Cha that the hunter he slapped was sentenced to execution on the spot. His crimes are inhumane. He pretended to be a marauder, killing innocent hunters and selling their organs on the black market. There is a rumor among rich old men that if you receive the organs of a hunter, you can become healthy and immortal. He is grateful that Cha saved them from this burden, but he is still guilty of murder. After all, he bloodthirstily dealt with 5 victims. They examined the corpses. The wounds are inflicted with surgical precision, as if it was done by a professional hand. A novice hunter would not be able to leave behind such a mess unless he had an innate talent for killing. The man with glasses said that from experience, such cases almost always lead to a person who is familiar with killing people firsthand. The only information that exists about him claims that he is a fraudster, so he decided to talk and find out what kind of person he is. Cha felt that this stranger was infuriating him. It was with such difficulty that he became human. The man with glasses told him that he was very dangerous, and Cha thought about how he couldn't fight people like him. The stranger told him that he was born to do evil. If he is not stopped, he will one day become the target of their guild. Cha thought that if their strength had been equal from the very beginning, and if he had had a different body, then that person and this one would also have been trampled by him. The man from the guild said that people like him need to be uprooted. After that, he extended his open palm towards him. The hunter's headquarters was located in a modern skyscraper. Here they were doing the usual things aimed at maintaining the normal work of the hunters. Here they rented weapons and provided all kinds of assistance to hunters. A young man approached the reception desk, and the girl politely asked him how she could help him. The young man thought for a second, and he remembered how a man with glasses from the guild leaned over him and asked whether he was scared or not. Then he said that even they couldn't just kill him. Besides, he really likes him. Thanks to his instinct, he can handle many difficulties. He invited him to become Post-Rel's hunter and devote his innate talent to kill to them. The young man looked at the administrator and said that he wanted to become a hunter. The girl asked for a passport and a document of predisposition for this. Cha remembered how the man with glasses suggested that he change his identity. He said another institution would do the propensity test. After he handed the relevant documents to the girl, she said that Everything was in order with them, and now he needed to register a code name. The code name is necessary to separate hunters from ordinary people, and without it, registration is impossible. The administrator asked if he had already come up with a code name other than his real one. If he wants to hear recommendations, then she is ready to give them. Cha remembered the words of the man with glasses, who told him that in their work, many problems had to be solved secretly. Since many have already heard about him, he will have to make an effort and not stand out too much. Then Cha thought that he had a chance, and he would become stronger than everyone else, so that they will all tremble with fear as soon as they hear his name. He smiled and said the code name, Baphomet. The magical beast was scary and huge. The young man kicked him in the mouth, but two more monsters came to the aid of the dead man. The paws of one of them were reaching for his face. He extended his hand forward and ordered the monster to stand. Then he lifted her up and ordered her to appear, but nothing appeared. Then he delivered an incredible blow to the monster's torso with his fist. As expected, the power never fully returned to him. Only one reason came to mind why there was still no power. This was a hidden quest. Feeling furious at a person with the reward of coveted power, the young man thought about it. Then his target was that hunter, so he only regained a small part of his strength. Then he decided not to think about it. What is in the tower and what is now are one and the same. What does this require of him? It's useless to think about it anyway. He won't learn anything like that. He already thought of something to do for himself. Force. If his strength has disappeared, he will simply return it through training. He was too used to starting everything from the bottom. The man from the guild was very angry with him for choosing the name Baphomet. Didn't he get any attention? What kind of person would even decide to take the name of the tower boss? He definitely told him not to draw attention to himself. It is clear that he hates those who slandered him as a fraudster, but rumors have already spread among the hunters, and his reputation is worse than ever. They also received the results of the investigation into the Abyss Tower. It was cleared by a hunter named Raven, and things only got worse because Korea's top hunter laid down his life to kill Baphomet. Now we have to think that things will be very bad. Cha replied that he should now bow out in front of everyone. He doesn't care about rumors. He's already heard enough. It makes him want to puke. When he becomes stronger, they will all shut their mouths at once. The head said that he was only good at talking. Then, having cooled down a little, he asked if he really thought he could cope. Then, let him prepare to face the consequences of his choice. After that, the boss said goodbye and said that they would see each other on Jeju Island. On the island, Cha saw the sea, exactly the same as what he saw in the captured phone in the Tower of the Abyss. The guild employee accompanying him offered to take a taxi, but the young man enjoyed the sea endlessly. Employee Tae-yoon told the boss that he can't be trusted. Is he still going to keep him? The man with glasses said that he would not back down. Normal people don't work here, and the guild needs people like him. Besides, he is under their noses, and if he does something stupid, they can eliminate him. Cha looked in surprise at the people who had blue eyes and white skin. This is what the other race that one toy talked about looks like. He looked at people in such a way that they felt awkward. Finally, Tae-yoon forcibly dragged him off the embankment. After that, we didn't go to the hotel, where instructions for novice hunters were scheduled. It was a set of training aimed at adapting the new one. Cha asked Tae-yoon why this instruction. Hunters kill monsters. What's so complicated about it? A guild employee explained that the government had issued such a decree. Unlike other countries in Korea, hunters were registered by the state, probably to twirl them as they pleased. Tae-yoon informed Cha that he would give him a couple of things, an ID and a phone. He especially liked the phone. He was already familiar with it from the Abyss Tower. Tae-yoon reminded the young man that outside of work, he would call him Cha Min-woo. Cha remembered how his friend asked him to take this name because his parents put their heart and soul into it. Tae-yoon informed him that the briefing would begin soon. Cha asked the employee if he really wouldn't go with him, since he was specially assigned to him. Tae-yoon realized that this guy grasps everything on the fly. He said that he would understand everything when he entered the briefing. When the instructor came out to the crowd, Cha understood what Tae-yoon was talking about. The man greeted the new hunters and said that this time he would conduct the instruction. His name is Ma Sung-woong. It was a man with glasses from the guild. At the buffet, Cha asked Ma Sung-woong what was going on. Is he a member of the guild or what? Ma Sung-woong asked him to keep his voice down because someone might hear them. He replied that outside of work, He was a member of the central management of hunters. Cha noticed that he was good at leading them by the nose, and the man with glasses replied that his position would be better than the swindler of the century. He asked Cha to look at these hunters who were only talking about him. The problems created by Baphomet built a strong friendship between them. Cha could easily hear how the hunters called him a fraudster and were indignant that he dared to come here, brazenly taking the name Baphomet. Some even called him sick. Ma Sung-woong ordered Cha not to speak to him in the future. He would not want to be avoided like the plague because of him. At this time, the instructor was called, and he left Cha. The young man decided to stand and eat for now. The girl, Ma Sung-woong, sat next to at the table, asked him what he was talking about with that newcomer. He replied that it was nothing. He asked him about the schedule and stuff. The tables continued to be indignant. Shouldn't the government punish people like him? How did they even let him in here? In addition, they also allowed him to take the name Baphomet. Is he even sane? Ma Sung-un was forced to pay attention to these conversations. He turned to the hunters and asked if they were really trying to challenge the government's decision. They must understand that this can be regarded as disobedience of civil servant. The conversations gradually died down. Ma Sung-woong thought that even here his subordinate was spoken of extremely negatively. This means that he has already established himself as the main sinner among hunters. He turned mentally to Cha and said that he could not forever erase the traces of the follower of Baphomet. Ma Sung-woong watched Cha's expression and thought about how he was trying to make the best of the situation. It was very noble, and yet one could breathe easy. This way, his spirit cannot be broken. Then he saw that there were A-rank hunters in the room. He asked the administrator what was going on here. Why are A-rank hunters here? The girl was surprised and asked if he hadn't been warned. Some A-rank members volunteered to give instruction. They were supposed to arrive in a week. Yes, this was kept postponed, and in the end, it was scheduled for today. Ma Sung-woong seemed pleased. He asked, "But isn't this a great opportunity? They can be a good influence on new recruits." Then he decided that not on Cha, and Cha, having taken a whole delivery of food, remembered how one of the toys took pictures of food on his phone. But being a demon, he did not feel hungry, but he was interested. He had eaten rice soup and ramen before, but had never tried anything like what was offered here. What do they usually say at such moments? He tensed and remembered that at such moments, they wish you a bon appetit. Suddenly, someone poured a drink on his face. Cha saw a guy in front of him who said that he was glad to see him and kept wondering what he looked like, but in reality, he was an ordinary person. It was Leon, an A-rank hunter. He named this name himself. Another hunter stood up from his table and asked Leon what he was doing here. He asked him to cool his ardor because people were looking at him here. However, Lion, in turn, asked how he could calm down after seeing this scum. The man apologized to Cha and pointed out to him that he was also to blame because many hunters had fallen at the hands of Baphomet. Working under this name, he seems to make fun of other hunters. If it were him, he would have chosen something more suitable. At this time, Cha happily poured a whole dish of rice and vegetables onto Leon's head. Ma Sung-woong lowered his head on the table in despair as he watched this. A rank hunter took the collar of Cha's t-shirt and asked if he really decided to die. Cha said, "Why did they all get into trouble about this name? Won't he rise from the dead just because he uses his name?" He told Leon that if he was so worried about the fate of other hunters, then he would have taken and killed this Baphomet earlier. Now all he hears is how he boasts about his weakness. Or did he not have enough strength? Did he offend him with his words? Leon asked if he had finished speaking. He was ready to start a fight. The system reported that a buff had been activated, increasing Cha's physical ability. Cha easily blocked Leon's shot and said that Leon had a very good shot. He blocked it with difficulty. Now he easily passed the A-rank exam. Leon exclaimed that Baphomet killed Ravan and dealt Cha a double blow. While the hunter's fists were moving towards him, Cha had time to think about whether to dodge or block the blow, but blood will be shed no matter what he chooses. Suddenly, someone grabbed Leon's hand and declared that fighting was prohibited by the rule. Cha saw the man's face and thought that he had already seen him somewhere. Nearby at the table, someone said that this hunter was the brother of the deceased Raven.
Standing before Baphomet was the A-rank hunter, nicknamed Griffin, who is also Raven's younger brother. Understanding that Leon was not allowed to enact justice, he flees into a rage and starts shouting across the hall. Is Griffin really willing to tolerate the presence of this bastard here, who bears the nickname of the boss who killed his older brother? But Griffin calmly replies that Baphomet is right. If Raven had been stronger, he clearly wouldn't have died during the tower cleanup. This only adds fuel to the already raging fire that is Leon. Here, instructor Ma Sung-un decides to intervene and ask them to behave properly in public. But Leon seems completely unswayed by this, continuing with clear negativity. He asks why the instructor isn't doing his job, since it's their task to punish scoundrels like Baphomet. Realizing this is a pointless conversation, Ma Sung-un apologizes for his mistake and asks Baphomet to go outside with him. At first, Baphomet doesn't understand why he should go with Sung-un, but after being asked twice, the instructor doesn't seem willing to back down, so Baphomet has no choice but to obey. As he leaves the building, our hero's gaze follows Griffin. His cold face finally shows some emotion, and he clearly suspects something about our hero, and so Baphomet begins his training. The first lecture is about learning to use the system. A beautiful female instructor explains to the whole auditorium how to properly use this blue window, but our main character finds it not very interesting and just tries not to fall asleep. Have you gone completely crazy? Why would I do that? If I hadn't hired you, this wouldn't have happened. It's my fault, so go ahead, hit me. Well, Baphomet doesn't miss this opportunity and decides to loosen up his fists. Before striking, "Are you really going to hit me? Do you have any conscience at all?" Realizing this was just a provocation, Baphomet asks the guild manager how he should act in situations like this when people show such disrespect that it's hard not to react. Just endure it until you become stronger. Sung-un makes it clear to Baphomet that once he becomes powerful, no one will dare open their mouth against him. So for now, Baphomet needs to behave as restrainedly as possible. He is still far from being a match for an A rank. Two guys who look like young hunters are discussing a scammer who came to the island with them. They say they arrived in a great mood, but because of people like him, everything was ruined. A sharp blow to the vending machine makes the guys interrupt their conversation and pay attention to the source of the noise. Damn it, it ain't my money. If I hit it hard enough, it'll spit it back out. Realizing they're not welcome here, the guys quickly leave to watch the A-rank sparring match. Baphomet, on the other hand, hit the jackpot because after his demonstrative blow, even the vending machine got scared and gave him a free soda. By the way, those devils mentioned battles between A-rank hunters. Maybe it's worth going to check it out? Upon arriving at the training room, Baphomet notices Leon defeating one of his comrades. It was his 8th consecutive victory. Leon sees the seated Griffin and offers him a match as well. The rules are simple. The winner is the first to snatch the blue scarf off their opponent. Using abilities is prohibited. Only physical skills can be used. Up above stand the female instructors, because in case of any kind of scuffle, they'll have to immediately eliminate it. Here, Sung-un approaches them and asks what's happening. They reply that the newcomers came to observe the sparring. This news pleases Sung-un right up until he notices Baphomet among the crowd. At this time, one of the instructors couldn't take her eyes off Griffin. She even wanted to ask for his number, but Sung-un disappointed her by saying this guy was only in his 2nd year of high school. The battle between Leon and Griffin intensifies, as usual with Leon trying to provoke his opponent in his typical style. But deciding not to tolerate these taunts any longer, Griffin swings his leg, which Leon barely blocks. Dodging the next strike, he gets as close as possible to Leon and starts a series of attacks. Waiting for the right moment, Griffin circles around Leon and snatches the scarf off his arm. Just like that, Leon's winning streak is broken. Everyone around praises Raven's brother for his movements and tactics, but he's not there to listen and wants to continue fighting, choosing Baphomet as his next opponent. The main hero completely didn't understand this move. He was just standing and watching, and now he's being challenged to a sparring match. The referee says this is impossible because Baphomet is a newcomer while Griffin is a high-ranking hunter. But Sung-un gives permission for the fight from the balcony, so the referee can't refuse now. Baphomet still doesn't understand what's going on. First, an A-rank challenges him to spar for no reason, when the one on the balcony told him to keep a low profile, but now he doesn't mind Baphomet fighting. What a madhouse. In fact, Sungun really hopes that after this fight, Baphomet will finally understand his place and temper his fervor. All right, time to start the duel. Baphomet evaluates his opponent and thinks through a battle plan against Griffin. Currently, achieving victory is practically impossible due to the difference in strength between the two, so he'll take a couple hits and end it there. But Raven's younger brother interrupts all of Baphomet's thoughts with his lunge and easily knocks him onto his back. The only thought in the main hero's head is to not get knocked out prematurely, because a couple hits will definitely not suffice here. Opening his eyes after the fall, Baphomet notices a fist flying at light speed straight towards his face. Baphomet manages to move his head out of the trajectory of this brat's strike. He felt it even when Griffin grabbed him, but if this continues, he won't have a shred left. The spectators assume Griffin's fury stems from the name Baphomet chose for himself, so he'll just have to resign himself to being a punching bag. Realizing this can't go on, our hero tries to strike at Griffin, but he easily dodges and pins Baphomet to the floor by the throat. Rolling out of the hold, Baphomet gets to his feet. He understands Griffin is just toying with him. It's a pity that during the previous sparring match, Raven's brother got injured. Otherwise, Baphomet could have witnessed this brat's full might. Taking hit after hit, the main hero starts to enjoy the power of his opponent. Just like back then in the tower, when battling Raven, he's always thrilled to fight stronger enemies. But Griffin cuts off all the fun by suggesting they stop, saying there's no point in continuing, but such behavior infuriates Baphomet. The level of rage in the hero's blood starts going through the roof, and his demonic persona emerges in the form of an aura that Griffin senses. Feeling the danger, the guy spins and strikes Baphomet from behind, though he miscalculated the force and sent Baphomet flying through the window straight into the pool amidst a dozen beautiful girls. The noise from this display attracts the attention of everyone standing nearby. At the same time, immersed in his thoughts, Baphomet sinks to the bottom of the pool. What a pity! I didn't think I'd crumple from a single blow, but now I roughly understand what this guy is capable of. I can't wait for the day when he'll bow his head before me. By the way, how does one swim? Thus, unable to swim, Baphomet sinks lower and lower into the depths. I can't. My consciousness. A blonde girl with incredibly beautiful light hair and blue eyes rushed to help our drowning hero, but when she approached the guy, he ran out of air and forcefully grabbed her hair, an unconventional plea for help from a drowning person. The blonde's friends stand around the pool, waiting for her to resurface with the guy, though she's been under for quite a while now. And then golden locks emerge on the surface, shocking the girls, and they go to call for help. Another blackout, meaning Baphomet is having another dream. A young Baphomet, an ordinary guard at the tower entrance, stands watch with a comrade. The other tells him to prepare for work. Baphomet doesn't understand what work he means. Well, it's time to die at the hands of people. And with that, the nightmare ends and Baphomet comes to. Turning around, he sees a foreigner who resembles the girl who tried to save him. Stop flailing while I'm politely talking to you, or else I'll bury you. Baphomet doesn't even get a chance to breathe before getting jumped on. Trying to crawl away from the threat, he bumps into yet another obstacle in the form of two girls. But then the instructors arrive at the scene. It turns out the raspberry-haired girl is the head of the Ark Guild, the hunter, Echidna. Sungun tries to apologize to Echidna, but she's not having it. She calls for a girl named Enro, who is currently in the pool gathering strands of hair torn out by Baphomet from the blonde's head. Watching these actions, Sungun realizes a hurricane is coming. Echidna explains that they, from the guild, checked in for a group vacation. Echidna is extremely outraged that this guy, who fell from the sky, interrupted their group vacation and dared to deprive their beautiful guildmate of her locks. She considers this an immense insult, as their comrade is no ordinary girl. Therefore, the ARC leader demands compensation from Baphomet of 1 million won per hair. And since he pulled out 116 strands, he'll have to pay 116 million. Baphomet is extremely surprised. Are you out of your mind? Why should I pay 1,000,001 for each hair? What kind of hunter is this? Is she some kind of doll, some kind of woman, worth that much money? With these words, Baphomet further enrages the ARC girls. Her code name is Valkyrie, a C-rank hunter, #1 in popularity rankings, a celebrity capable of selling anything her body touches. Baphomet considers this utter nonsense. Echidna cuts the girls off and asks them to stop the pointless explanations, effectively ordering Baphomet to compensate for the damages so he doesn't run into future problems with his hunter career. She says he can pay the compensation in installments if he doesn't have the money, or in the worst case, you can pay with your body. His body? Baphomet's deep trauma. The hell? Am I your servant? I'm not at fault here. And if you want to ask what actually happened, they're to blame for not stopping the fight in time, and that guy sent me flying through the window. Griffin's appearance caused some confusion among the girls, because if it's true, then he's also culpable, and they don't want to damage relations with him. Echidna decides to clarify with Sungun whether what was said is true and receives an affirmative answer. The instructor says there was a sparring match between the newcomer and the A-rank hunter, so in fact, Baphomet bears no fault. But the ARC leader didn't want to let the incident slide, so she tries to pressure Baphomet again. Then Sungun joins the dialogue and says he'll sort everything out. Since they're responsible for newcomers, they're ready to compensate for their mistake. However, monetary compensation goes against the corporate ethics code, so would the ARC Guild not agree to be given ownership of one of the towers instead? This is a very lucrative offer, because monopolizing a tower will allow the guild to receive an endless influx of stones, mined from the monsters that will keep appearing there until the tower is cleared. Realizing this is a very profitable offer, Echidna concedes and says it should be discussed with the other guild members. Stepping just a pace away, standing there for a couple seconds, she returns and accepts the deal, leaving Sungun satisfied with the resolved problem. Finally, the blonde named Ria comes too. The girls gently help her and explain the situation. Understanding that all problems are solved, the ARC Guild leaves the debate venue. Baphomet follows Valkyrie with his gaze and doesn't understand what's so beautiful about her. The girl throws a disdainful look at the hero, and this reaction unsettles him, but it turns out she was just joking and winks at him, leaving with her comrades as Baphomet remains clueless. The instructors apologize to the hunters for the inconvenience caused. Leaving the pool courtyard, Baphomet ponders two important questions. Why are some hunters so obsessed with money, and why did that foreigner wink at him? But then someone's hand appears and snatches Baphomet's blue headband. It turns out to be Griffin. He says our hero can't even sense his presence. So how did he manage to snatch his headband? By the way, it's still floating in the pool. Baphomet tells Griffin that he moves too flamboyantly, and it was like he was deliberately asking to have the cloth snatched off him. These explanations unsettle Raven's brother, because newcomers shouldn't be able to notice such things. You need battle experience for that. Who are you really? Baphomet answers the question with a question, saying Griffin acted on emotion by challenging the main hero to a fight because he took the name of the monster that killed his brother. Griffin asks him not to change the subject and answer his question, but Baphomet keeps choking him with his deductions. The young guy can't take it anymore. Are you trying to say I'm trying to avenge that damn bastard? I just needed someone to blow off steam, that's all. And now, maybe you were upset that Baphomet killed your brother instead of you? The hero says this, realizing he hit the mark. During the fight, he didn't sense any hatred from Griffin, but now his feelings are clearly boiling over. Raven's brother says it's utter nonsense. What hunter would go after another hunter, let alone their own brother? But Baphomet parries, saying hunters aren't that saintly, some might even kill. Not wanting to continue about his brother, Griffin suggests changing the subject and asks what that aura directed at him during the sparring match was. There are only 2 places you can encounter something like that, in dungeons and towers, and it only comes from high-ranking monsters. How can a human possess a monster's aura? The only explanation is a monster disguised as a human. With these words, Griffin causes Baphomet to burst out laughing. What an interesting toy. Well, let's assume I'm a monster. What will you do then? Griffin says, a hunter should kill monsters without a second thought. Then if I really am a monster, our relationship boils down to mutual killing, which means you and I are in the same boat, a boat where we kill each other. Baphomet will happily await the day when Griffin finds out who he really is, and very much hopes he becomes stronger, otherwise he'll simply die at the hands of the main hero. And so ended the first day of training, after which Baphomet tried not to draw attention to himself. After completing the training, Sungun decided to surprise Baphomet and led him somewhere. Passing by old houses, the hero arrives at the destination. Welcome to your new home. It's huge itself, has an eco-friendly backyard, and the house is designed in the traditional Korean style. Sungun assumed Baphomet might not like it, so he prepared in advance, already starting to justify this place, but Baphomet interrupts him, saying it's not bad at all. It just needs some work on the building and it'll be livable. This horrifies the guild manager. Did you lose your mind completely after falling into the pool? It's fine. Leave me alone. Baphomet just doesn't like living on the upper floors of skyscrapers. He feels caged in up there. Reluctantly, but Sungun believes what was said, clarifying, how did his remaining days go after starting the training? The main hero answers that everything was calm, only he constantly felt someone's gaze on his back. Even when he went away, someone was watching him. Then someone appears near the front door. A newcomer? I guess he'll come in handy for us. Hearing this, Baphomet gets scared and decides to see the intruder, but turning around, there's no one there, which arouses the hero's suspicion. But oh well, the gift presentation is over, now it's time to get to work. There's a perfect assignment that will suit the main hero, only usually all newcomers start working with a mentor, but Baphomet will have a slightly different situation. His mentor will be the target. Then the hero suggests taking him out on the spot, but alas, that's not possible. There's a suspicion that someone is behind him, and this new participant needs to find out. There's one caveat, he can't kill anyone because the target is B rank, so the people behind him could be much stronger, and Baphomet's rank barely exceeds B, and any attempt to deal with it on his own could lead to problems and, God forbid, death. Arriving at the meeting place, the main hero sees a group of young hunters as well as meets the mentor. He is a B rank hunter, codenamed Kvitch. Because of his wife, he had to become a government worker since she wanted stability, and now he supervises newcomers. The desire to take out this guy on the spot didn't let Baphomet stand still, so he tries his best to hide it, but he doesn't succeed very well. Baphomet's goal is to get as close as possible to Kvitch, and then the guild will be able to take him alive. Baphomet misunderstood the information a bit, thinking that after getting the necessary data, he'll be able to apprehend him, he'll definitely extract something from him. True, he doesn't know how to get close to this guy yet. The mentor takes the group of newcomers to the D-rank gates and says that under his leadership, they will have to clear this dungeon. The unexpected assignment leaves the squad confused. After all, they are all F-rank hunters, and such gates are still beyond their abilities. Kvitch responds that according to the paperwork, F-rank hunters are supposed to guard the D-rank dungeon. They were told this during the briefing. Automated combat weapons deal with E and F rank monsters, so hunters handle D-rank monsters and above, something like that. The main hero's knowledge astounds the mentor, but it was all drilled into Baphomet by Sungon so he could make a good impression on the instructor. Not wanting to waste any more time, the man calls the group to follow him through the gates, ordering them to summon their weapons in advance. He also notices Baphomet's lack of a weapon, and the hero explains he only fights with his fists. Strange, of course, but nothing to be done about it. He enters the gates first, with the rest following behind him. As soon as the instructor disappears from the group's sight, Baphomet's armed comrades shove him and don't miss the chance to insult him. I was wondering why those bastards looked familiar. It was them talking that crap about me back then. In the dungeon, the newcomers have a hard time, but manage to deal with the monsters. Kvitch just stands by, evaluating their abilities. They all have weaknesses, except one, Baphomet. So you understand, he simply dodges the monsters' attacks and sometimes even taunts them. When he gets bored of it, he quickly kills them all. The mentor considers him one of the anomalous awakened, the name given to genius hunters. But even so, he's still a newcomer, and his combat skills cannot simply be attributed to talent. God, why is he smiling at me like that? Baphomet's attempt to make a good impression? Per Sung-un's recommendations, the result is still in question. After finishing the clearing, Kvitch tells everyone about their weaknesses. The main hero, meanwhile, darts from side to side, looking for someone to fight, but can't. He's stuck in this D-rank dungeon where the monsters aren't even fit for punching bags. There was, of course, the thought of clashing with the instructor. But then he could get exposed. It's just strange that the group killed all the monsters, but not the boss yet. Then the man says that for the boss to appear, first they need to gather all the monster corpses into a pile. Collecting the enemy remains in one place. The cave walls start to shake, and second, he will smell the blood and the deadly worm. A monster that loves blood will immediately appear. Be careful, don't let it grab you. The boss that appears is devilishly huge, and the newcomer hunters have no idea how to deal with it without preparation. With a cocky look, Baphomet knocks out one of the assholes, takes his weapon, and heads towards the monster. They shout after him that he's completely lost it because the damage will be reduced due to the conditions of using someone else's weapon. But he lets all those phrases go in one ear and out the other. Seeing the main hero head towards the monster, Kvitch wants to stop him, but Baphomet is too fast and he simply doesn't have time to even touch the guy. Leaping onto the giant worm, Baphomet cuts it in half with one strike. The whole group is in shock at the strength of this hunter. In this world, there is a law: the strong are obeyed. That is the first rule I learned in the human world. Baphomet certainly made an impression, even one of the girls fell for him. But the only one who didn't lose his ability to speak is the instructor. He stands there, applauding our hero, praising his fighting style. Summing up, Kvitch confidently states that Baphomet has excellently completed the assignment, so he no longer needs his mentorship. What do you mean? Leaving the gates, the instructor informs Baphomet that he can start working as a hunter, distributes the stones mined from the monsters among the group, and recommends they sell them. Hey, wait, I'm not that strong. It was just a weak boss. For sure those guys could have handled it too, but could you really handle it? Just by looking at the guys' faces, you could tell it was impossible. Training is over. Kvitch says he was glad to work with Baphomet and wishes him luck. Left alone, Baphomet realizes he really screwed up the mission hard. Then a girl from the group approaches him and asks for his phone number. How did this happen? Returning to the supervisor, he says, everything is fine. He expected something like this. Apparently this was too difficult an assignment for a newcomer. However, there is an easier task. you need to urgently get rid of a criminal C-rank hunter. Baphomet can choose any method to dispose of the target, but since the main hero was devilishly angry over the failed mission, he chose a simple yet very effective method. He just cut off the hunter's head. Getting rid of the body is easy. Just take it to a dungeon and kill the boss. Then it will disappear along with the dungeon. Finished with the assignment, Baphomet leaves the dungeon with a clear conscience. His plans are to exchange the stones for money and have a good meal. Only that man just won't leave his head. He has to complete this assignment, though getting close to Kvitch is no longer an option. So the main hero decides to act undercover. Perhaps he can use this method to find out the man's connection to the criminals. But continuing to observe him, nothing strange happens. That can't be. Then Baphomet decides to follow the man all the way home. The hero is already filled with rage that this guy isn't showing any signs. If they were in a less prosperous area, he would have cut off his arm and then simply tortured the information out of him. Maybe he should do that? No, alas. They are in the human world now, and such actions would not go unnoticed. And in the midst of Baphomet's thoughts, Kvitch suddenly takes off somewhere very quickly. The main hero decides to follow him and sees the man met his wife. He was very worried about why the girl wasn't answering her phone. Not daring to listen to the answer, Kvitch simply hugs her and says he was very worried. After that, they went home for dinner. Finally, a clue is found. At this time, the scout who was previously assigned to Baphomet completed his mission. He's about to report it to headquarters, but then he gets a message from the main hero with a request. How do I stage an accident? A moment later, we see Kvitch rushing somewhere. It turns out he was worried about his wife Yu-hyun. Arriving home, he finds her together with Baphomet. He, in turn, pretends to be surprised to meet his former mentor. It turns out Baphomet saved her from a car, but got injured himself, refused to go to the hospital, so the girl offered to treat his wounds at her home. The main hero examines the couple's home when Kvitch grabs him by the arm. He is very grateful for saving his wife, but did Baphomet happen to remember the car's license plate number, by chance? He wanted to find out all this outside the home. However, Hyun asked the hero to have dinner with the couple as a token of her gratitude for saving her, but Baphomet didn't refuse since he was very hungry. This way, he might be able to find something out. Gobbling down the food offered by Hyun, he tries to catch as many details as possible. But for now, the only thing unsettling him is this strange feeling that has been haunting him for a very long time. There's something off about this woman. Deciding to lighten the mood, Kvitch asks Baphomet how his work as a hunter is going. Baphomet says it's tough because someone kicked him out really quickly, but then the conversation is interrupted by the sound of a shattered plate. Are you okay? I'm fine. Sorry for the noise. Don't mind me. And continue your conversation. It was Hyun who dropped the plate. Looking at the scene, Baphomet finally realized it all. You're a good husband. Do you really think so? What can be done, after all? You've already lost her once before. Confused by what was said, Kvitch asks Baphomet again, but he asks for a piece of paper, saying he remembered the car's license plate number. In fact, this woman has been dead for a long time. We were always together in elementary school, and even all through high school, we sincerely believed that marriage would allow us to be together forever. But when my husband awakened, he was dubbed an anomaly, which greatly disturbed me, and I was afraid of losing him. And when he dreamed of becoming a high-ranking hunter and living without denying his family anything, I asked him, "Do you really need that? We don't need a lot of money to be happy. Your wife just wants her husband to come home safe and sound." Then he refused to be a hunter and became an instructor instead. One day at work, they were given teleportation devices. They needed to be used if there was a gate breach, and then it could teleport you to the nearest shelter. My husband understood that I needed it more than he did, so he gave it to me and strictly instructed me to use it if anything dangerous happened. Time went by, and it seemed like peaceful days would last forever. However, nothing good can last that long. After some time, there was a gate breach. I happened to be outside that day, and that's when I remembered the device my dear husband had given me, but I couldn't teleport to safety. That day, an orc attacked a girl, and I decided to help her, diverted its attention, grabbed the girl, and ran away. But due to carelessness, I tripped, and the device fell out of my bag. Seeing this device, the rescued girl already knew what to do with it. She activated it and teleported to a safe place. And I had to remain alone with the monsters. And on that day, I definitely died. But how am I still alive? What did my husband do to me? To verify this information, Baphomet decided to make sure it was true. In addition to the number, he told him about the apartment where the driver lived. Going inside, the man saw his wife standing by the window. "Yuhyun, why are you here? I knew you would try to catch the one who hit your wife, Baphomet's hunter. I have no idea how you got involved with the criminals. However, now at least I know what you got in return. Your dead wife." When Baphomet told Hyun she was dead, she immediately lost all her life force and became zombie-like. While telling this story, the main hero kept touching the wife, as he wanted to provoke him. "How exactly did you resurrect her? Don't touch her, but it's none of my business." Finishing the phrase, Baphomet pushes the lifeless body towards the open window. The man screams his wife's name, falls to his knees, and starts sobbing. "She's dead anyway. How hard is it for you to resurrect her? Come on, stop the whining." Summoning a weapon from his inventory, Kvitch no longer wants to see Baphomet and is going to kill him. Finally, a fight. I was getting bored. "Unfortunately, I need to bring you in alive, but let me cut off your arm for free." Two anomalies clashed in battle. Baphomet used his dagger to fight Kvitch, who in turn used a spear. Logically, one would assume that at medium range, Baphomet should lose, but he calmly blocked every spear thrust. But it's also worth remembering that the man is slightly weaker in strength than the guy. If you let your guard down for a moment, you could get injured. Under the onslaught of attacks, Kvitch eventually breaks through Baphomet's defenses. Immediately after that, he throws his spear straight at his opponent. But even such an attack, Baphomet was able to parry. Jumping onto the wall, he rushes at the criminal. Pushing off, he swings his dagger at the man's head. But he, in turn, summons the spear back, and in midair, it grazes the hero's head. A moment after taking the hit, Baphomet realized what happened, but he has no intention of letting his guard down, so he continues attacking. During the battle, the man decides to tell the guy the already known story about his love for Hyun. He says they were always together, and it was supposed to continue until death. But when he saw her corpse, he just couldn't react normally. He deliberately gave her the device so she could survive if anything happened. Someone must have stolen it. Kvitch decided to go to the shelter and beat this person, confident that no one would notice another corpse during a gate breach. But upon arrival, he only saw the remains of the shelter. This means Hyun was destined to die. No, they were always meant to be together, which means there had to be a way to bring her back to life. He wouldn't leave it at that. He uses an ability, Windows to Heaven. With you, Hyun, everything will be all right. Not allowing him to complete the incantation, Baphomet cuts off the man's arm.